let us take a breath and simply say, good morning, beautiful people. I am Vicki Jeter, your practitioner spiritual director for Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter. This is a very special day because we are being blessed by our practitioner team throughout the day today, throughout service. First, Katrina Dorow is our speaker, and Miss Tammy Sevenfield, whom you haven't seen in a while, is with us today for Practitioner of the Week. And now I need to take a pause because I have to let you all know that we are going to be rescheduling the pet blessing that was scheduled for this afternoon. And that was with our practitioner Tammy Ellis and our practitioner Bev Iyengar. And so that will be rescheduled, and they will once again bring us their talents in facilitating a pet blessing. And Tammy's husband Harry has been in the hospital for these last few days, and he's recovering from an illness. So Tammy knew that she wouldn't be able to be with him and be fully with us for that pet blessing, and so she just knew it would be better if we do it at a different time. And so now this strikes me as Spirit's perfect opportunity when I realized how fully we were being blessed by our practitioner team today. I just still want to take the opportunity with all of the practitioners that have been named, and also Miss Pat Ferguson. I want to thank you all for your unwavering support to LCSL in consciousness and in all that you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our practitioners. And also, along that same line, according to our acknowledging and honoring of cultures, Pat pointed out for me this week that it would be a perfect time to acknowledge local culture for Kentucky, because how many of you got to enjoy Thunder over Louisville last night? They broadcast it here. I don't know if they broadcast it nationally or not, but they should, because Thunder over Louisville is consistently known as the largest fireworks show in the nation. And it kicks off what is known as Derby season in Kentucky. So Pat found just a little piece that I want to share with you about the importance of Derby. For my non-Kentuckiana friends who don't understand the Derby season, let me put it into language that anyone can get. The Kentucky Derby is the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, preceded by 2 weeks of food, festivals, and fun. It's the Super Bowl of horse racing. Add a dash of Milan, Fashion Week, and Bachelor Night in Vegas. Stir in a dash of red carpet and a teaspoon of Food Network. Blend well with bourbon and garnish with a sprig of mint. The mint julep is a great big deal, guys, during Derby. All the schools close the day before the Oaks race, which the Oaks race happens the day before Derby, where everyone wears pinks and pastels. When you're local, you don't go to Churchill Downs on Derby Day. You have parties at home with all the best foods, and you bet on the horses by drawing names from a cup. These 2 days aren't just races. They are holidays in Kentucky, and I love this time of year. So thank you, Pat, for your input to Practitioner Sunday. Thank you so much for adding that in, because it is important. So now, this is the time in opening our service for setting intention, individually and together. Take a few seconds and set your intention for being here today. And together today, we get to express our shared intention, opening ourselves to receive the message and blessings that Katrina is bringing us about seeing and being seen as a practice in vulnerability and authenticity. Now let's take a breath and settle in for opening prayer. And let us begin this prayer in an atmosphere of gratitude. Thank you, Spirit, for the gift of this day, for the gift of life, for the gift that opens the package of adventures and opportunities for good and more good in our lives. And I recognize it as fully present right here and right now. Omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence that is ever available. And now we turn to it. We show up as spirit emergent within this community and for all people who are seeking what we have here. Universal love, universal law, continually bringing forth that which we have called for. And in this day, I know that Katrina has opened herself as a marvelous vessel of spirit, that her word is the word of the divine, and that as people hear what she has to offer, that it is received by our hearts and minds just exactly in that sweet spot that simply says, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, God, for all of these gifts and more. I release it, I let it be, and so it is. And so we welcome each and every one of you with our whole hearts to Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter. Whether you're with us for the first time or the second time this morning, or watching later on Zoom, thank you for being with us today. And we start each day greeting God and the angels and each and every one of you as we light the God candle and set up for Sunday morning. And we're blessing each and every one of you who find us. And just know that you're welcome regardless of what faith you come from, what your path of life has been, and what you were ever taught to believe. You are welcome here. Taking a breath, we shift into saying our mission and vision. The mission statement of LCSL is to teach personal transformation as a virtual community, living the principles of science of mind, and celebrating all paths to God. And our vision statement, a world that honors and respects all people. As we know, spiritual living is only as good as we can relate to it in our daily lives. So each week we have an application of what we believe. These are thoughts to put into practice and perhaps for discussion like after service at sharing time. And so this week's application of what we believe, and say this with me if you're comfortable, your soul requires seeing, but it cannot truly be seen until you are willing to be vulnerable. And that was by LeBeau Grand, who's actually a young man who's famous in South Africa. Now for our sacred reading and meditation, our practitioner of the week, yay, Tammy Seppenfield.
Thank you, Vicki, very much. I journal every morning, and for other people who might journal, my thought for today for journaling is, I am enough. Vicki was kind enough to send me a meditation, which carries some weight. So I'm going to combine my reading with the meditation, and I hope you enjoy the meditation. Inner healing experience. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to close your eyes and relax in quiet confidence, opening yourselves to the miracle-working higher power. Now, symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own, for your own inner acceptance and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words, I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the kingdom of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, now I say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only constructive, positive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I am willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing the idea is already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words, I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now I call to mind the face of someone who has touched my life in powerful, wonderful ways, a friend or family member or teacher of mine, someone who is not physically present here today. I turn toward that face in my mind's eye and I say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. I now open my eyes to the world around me and turn joyfully to the person next to me, sharing my gratitude and confidence with, I'm grateful for the good in your life. And so it is.
Today is where your book begins, and the rest is still unwritten. We have the power to choose. And this is the wellspring of our speaker today. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Miss Katrina Dorow, even for those of you who know and love her. like this is only the beginning. It's very exciting. Katrina Dorow is a practitioner, was raised in science of mind, like from the time she was 7, and attended Mile High Center for Spiritual Living in Lakewood, Colorado. Katrina's East Asian religion minor in school supported her spiritual growth. After college, Katrina started attending the Santa Rosa Center with Dr. Edward Villon. And of course, at that time, he wasn't our spiritual leader, but what a fabulous atmosphere that Katrina comes out of. I was so excited when I realized that she had worked that closely with him. From 2003 to 2007, Katrina was the Religious Science International National Youth Young Adult Director and United Teen Group Advisor. On August 1st of 2009, Katrina became licensed as a spiritual practitioner and has served with Mile High Soul Home in South Africa, which at that time, you guys, that was one of our first international centers. That is so awesome that she was there for the beginning of that center. Then she came back to the States and then was a practitioner at New Dawn in Aurora, Colorado for a while. And now here she is with us at Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter. Thank you, Katrina. And I just turn it over to you, my dear.
Good morning. It's an absolute delight to be with you today. Wow. Look at all these beautiful faces. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here at the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. This is a place to deepen your spiritual tools and create a more meaningful relationship with the divine. As our morning music by Billy Gilman expressed, there is a hero in everybody's heart. And I can see that in each of you. Together, we can see ourselves more clearly, remembering and acknowledging that our future is unwritten, as expressed in the special music by Natasha Bedingfield. Right now, in the present moment, we have the opportunity to move towards becoming the best version of ourselves from a place of authenticity and vulnerability. Let's write our future from a place of wholeness and oneness with God. Let me briefly introduce myself. As Vicki said, I am Katrina Dorow, a practitioner here at the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. I was raised in science of mind. I grew up seeing myself and being seen by others from the viewpoint of knowing the science of mind principles. Who else was reading Ernest Holmes at age 7? Many people would say how lucky I was to have had that depth of spiritual understanding at such a young age. And they'd be right. Having the foundation of science of mind is a gift beyond words. And spoiler alert, not everyone in my life has lived by these same principles. So it truly is a blessing in my life. In learning any new skills, we are called to stretch outside of our comfort zone. So here I go, practicing and stretching my public speaking skills. Vulnerability and all. My voice has been a little strained recently, so please just be patient with me throughout the talk. Today's topic, wow, it is such an incredible topic. Vulnerability from the perspective of being seen and seeing. From seeing and being seen. Forgot the title. First, I will share with you how I learned vulnerability and how vulnerability can deepen self-awareness and our connection with others. So let me share my journey of vulnerability and learning how to allow myself to be seen in the world. My most valuable childhood relationship for teaching me vulnerability was with my Palomino horse, Tiny. I was seen, heard, and accepted by Tiny at the deepest heart level. I loved talking about life, spirituality, and sharing my experiences with Tiny as we would go on trail rides together. I could share my most secret and private thoughts and feelings with Tiny without any judgment, just pure unconditional love and acceptance. Horses can reflect God's miraculous creation to us in a way that we can see, hear, and feel because of how highly sensitive horses tend to be when they're with their trusted humans. Horses have the potential to show us unconditional love and teach us life lessons if we're open to their natural gifts. As an adult, I once again gained the opportunity to grow and stretch my vulnerability with horses. In 2016, I was introduced to my first equine gestaltist, who ignited a dream in me to partner with horses to heal, learn, and align with my personal wholeness. When an equine gestaltist partners with a horse, they do an experiential, in-the-moment process to support greater awareness of wholeness, with the belief that we are all born with natural resources within. So just as Billy Gilman expressed, we all have a hero within us. We have these natural resources within us also. A few years later, I was invited to share my vulnerability and truth when I started attending group equine gestalt sessions. This deep connection with horses has been transforming my beliefs, teaching me to express my personal boundaries, and allowing me to be seen and heard. I learned that at a very young age. I learned at a very young age that adults that I trusted had labeled me as who I was, and I believed them. A belief was shared with me before I had the mental capacity to determine if it was true or not, and I basically swallowed someone else's belief whole. Although I had known that I was carrying this false belief, and I knew it was absolutely not true, I had been struggling to change the manifestation pattern of this belief that was operating and determining my behaviors in life. I'm so grateful that I had the incredible opportunity to change this belief. So here is the process I went through. A year ago, on a Friday morning, I had an MRI to locate multiple cancer tumors before surgery the following week. I pulled out my spiritual tools of meditation, spiritual mind treatment in order to hold still for the 180 minutes that I was in the MRI. The MRI results revealed a lot of potential cancer growth. The Sunday following the MRI, I was with multiple equine gestaltists. My role was to capture photographs and to be a horse handler, but spontaneously, I was invited to participate. To put it plainly, I felt the urgency to change one of these core beliefs, the one I was speaking of above, that was limiting me, keeping me stuck, which seemed like a mile away from wholeness. With the help of a wonderful horse and a small group of equine gestaltists, I was determined to do whatever it took to replace that limiting core belief. During the experiential process, I was asked to be open and vulnerable enough to allow my new empowering affirmation to embody at a cellular level. Time to dig deeper. What happened next is almost undescribable, but I'll do my best. I felt so vulnerable that I felt a physical pain and intense emotions. The words of the new affirmation were stuck in my throat. The false belief was so strong inside of me, inside my body and inside my cells, that I physically wasn't able to claim the truth in the new affirmation because it conflicted with what I was told so many years back. Of course, tears fell down my cheeks as I heard the equine gestaltist say to me, "I see you. You can do it." And so many other positive words. The horse was completely present with me just in the depth of my pain. What felt like a lifetime of hurt was expressed in a couple of moments. Eventually, my mind, my body, and my heart aligned to the new empowering affirmation, which came out with confidence and with so much truth and knowing. The process allowed me the opportunity to embody this new affirmation as truth for me in my life. After completing the letting go of that old false belief, I felt better, relieved, grateful, taller, lighter, more confident, and empowered. I went in for my scheduled surgery to discover that some of the tumors had decreased in size and some had completely disappeared. I'm not trying to impress you, but to impress upon you how a shift in one belief can change every aspect of your life. The ripple effect is beyond what I can share with you today, but here are a couple life changes that occurred for me as a result of changing this one belief. I transferred my practitioner license to the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living because this community is so in alignment with my heart. I just love and adore each of you. With my deep love for horses, I have chosen to become an equine gestaltist to complement my practitioner practice. I am currently a student with the Equine Gestalt Coaching Method through Touched by a Horse. I now have the opportunity to expand my understanding of partnering with horses by learning from expert and teacher Melissa Pierce, which is truly a dream come true for me. Excuse me, just one moment. I need to take a sip. Thank you. I hope you can see in this example how vulnerability created self-awareness and allowed me to connect deeply with wonderful horses and others. Vulnerability requires us to know who we are. For example, I know who I am. I am a beautiful, individualized expression of God that is worthy of receiving infinite good. I am a lifelong practitioner of the principles of science of mind. Every day, I deepen my spiritual practice and apply spiritual tools. Without a strong foundation of knowing who we are, feeling vulnerable may cause unconscious reactions of a protective defense, where we shut down and retreat rather than open our authentic selves more fully. What old frameworks, ideas, limiting beliefs, biases are we carrying around on a daily basis that impact how vulnerability can show up in our own lives and those around us? When we truly look within, we have the potential to see ourselves, be ourselves, and truly be seen. In addition to false beliefs, what keeps us from experiencing our wholeness and showing up in the present moment? States of being, such as being tired, hungry, emotionally stressed, physically taxed, thirsty, distracted, overstimulated, overcommitted, addictions, or placing our focus on something we don't value. We distract ourselves from the current moment by living in the past, worrying about the future, or by filling our lives with too many stressors. These states magnify the intensity of emotions with the potential of forgetting oneness and wholeness. When we repeatedly say to ourselves or others, I am tired, I am too stressed, I'm too busy, I am hungry, or as my daughters would say, I am hangry. We are affirming that we are temporary states of being in who we are. And if we are these states of being, we truly are not present or open to seeing the God in ourselves or others. It is important to learn how to be aware of our beliefs, practice empowering affirmations, and manage these temporary states in relation to God, ourselves, animals, and others. So seeing ourselves. At vulnerable times in our lives, perhaps we have believed that what others have said about us, just like I had done in the example above. Unintentionally, we may have created false beliefs about ourselves and others. Part of our spiritual work is to clear out those false beliefs that have given us the perception of feeling separate from God, releasing any thoughts that are keeping us from being whole or present with God. Part of our work is to communicate clear agreements that allow us to respect and honor the God in ourselves and in others. We are called to expand awareness of our connection with the whole. In creating communities where vulnerability and authenticity is nurtured, it is important to understand the role of personal reflection and responsibility. This sometimes means saying, wow, I really messed up. I'm sorry, I should have listened to I should have listened or communicated differently. This level of vulnerability requires us to be willing to see life from a wide variety of angles and understand how our thoughts, words, and actions may direct or impact others. Seeing ourselves is a process of love and acceptance for all parts of our being, accepting all of our choices, beliefs, mistakes, feelings, and experiences. Seeing ourselves is not beating ourselves up or criticizing ourselves. Seeing ourselves is awareness of high noticing or observation that is held with love, gentle love, compassionate love. Seeing ourselves is a deep, unconditional love and acceptance. Seeing ourselves is an act of empathy for that which has happened to us in those moments of feeling, acting, or perceiving ourselves separate from God. And we all know better than that. We are never truly separate from God. When we allow ourselves to look in the mirror through God's eyes, what does God see? Nothing but the God in you. God sees the face of God in each of us. Seeing others. Remember the golden rule? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Seeing others does not mean seeing them as we think they should be seen or for what they may be in the future. Seeing others does not mean seeing them from the perspective of how they behaved in the past or what might have happened in their lives to create their current conditions. Instead, it requires present moment eyes. These eyes see not through the lens of judgment or comparison, but instead through the gentle gaze of awareness. Just like us, each person we see is a unique expression of the One. When we begin to practice seeing others in this higher consciousness way, the result is the creation of communities, a space where we are all invited to show up authentically, messiness and all. We are then called to recognize the challenges to vulnerability that may arise and address them head on without downplaying, bypassing, or ignoring. We need to allow others to speak their truth and give them the space to change their minds, their thoughts, and about their situation or a situation, and their emotions as they grow. We might accidentally bump into others' deep wounds, but when we show up in a place of truly listening without the need to correct, fix, or share advice, we can deeply hear where they are coming from in their life experience. When we no longer feel the need to fix others or prove ourselves right, we begin listening to fully understand with empathy and connection. Putting in the work to truly see and hear others results in creating and being being together safely and supportively. We create a vibration of non-judgment, acceptance, honor, and respect, which invites and makes a space for vulnerability and true healing. The interesting thing about vulnerability is when we allow ourselves to be seen, we invite others to do the same. In this exchange, we can find a beautiful way to create communities that nurture vulnerability, connection, and belonging. This is not achieved with words alone, but through intentional actions. This is not to say that we will always get it right. Vulnerability makes space for us to practice, miss the mark, reflect, and practice again. Vulnerability is not a one-dimensional concept. It requires both internal awareness and external practice. Just like with any new concept or activity, it definitely takes practice. And guess what? More practice. We are called to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Let's recognize the value of vulnerability and begin to create a space in our lives and in our community for vulnerability. It's important that you know that I am not suggesting you making yourself a target for criticism by sharing your deepest hurts on social media. I am suggesting practicing being vulnerable with people who have earned your trust and would be safely receptive. If you cannot think of someone, please reach out to a practitioner for an appointment. What I have learned from exploring self-awareness, partnering with horses, and connecting with others has been extremely valuable in understanding myself and others. I have learned more about what is important in creating a positive and meaningful community through vulnerability and expressing as our authentic selves. How have I changed for the better by allowing myself to see and be seen? I now create clearer communication around boundaries. I now see boundaries as an instruction manual of ways to communicate what I need and what others need as we move forward expressing our authentic selves and being vulnerable in a safe and empowering community. In conclusion, I'd like to share with you steps of awareness for this week to hopefully gain insights and awareness while remembering to love, honor, and respect yourself and others. So the steps would be, in what ways can you allow yourself to be seen? In what ways can you support others in their effort to be seen? What role does clear communication play in creating space for vulnerability? Thank you, thank you, thank you to this community for giving me this opportunity to speak today and to share my thoughts about vulnerability. I'm turning this over to our wonderful, beloved Vicki for our closing prayer today. Thank you.
So if we could be in the same room and we could say encore, who can imagine jumping out of your chair and giving Katrina the encore wave? Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Who knows what will manifest out of this prayer, because I'm just, in a whole different world at this moment. Spirit loves such an opportunity. The field is open. The word has already been spoken. There is very, very little to be done in this moment, except for realizing that the process of what we call treatment, and certainly the process of what we call closing treatment, doesn't change God. It tunes us. And so, even though it is already done according to Katrina's inviting, we simply say, I recognize there is one, and that one is omnipresent right here and right now. And as there is one, necessarily each one of us is one with it. We are unified. We are unified with the source of each individual being within ourselves. We are unified with each other in mind, heart, and soul. And as we are unified with the source of our very being, thusly, our word is the word of omnipresent divine creator emergent. And that word in this moment is the courage to be safe enough, to be vulnerable enough, to be authentic. And as we are authentic within ourselves, and with each other, it magnifies every opportunity for us to be the ones we have been waiting for, as we know that we are. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. I release it with the heart of a child. I let it be, and so it is.
Okay, it's time for our April prosperity affirmation. I'd like to start out to remind you all that all of you are with me this week, and I'll be thinking and holding you in my heart. So remember that if needed. Okay, I'll say our affirmation and then we'll say it together. With spring in my heart, every area of my life is in full bloom. And if you'll join me, with spring in my heart, every area of my life is in full bloom. And what a beautiful screen this is. I love all the full blooms. And now I pass it on to Vicki for blessing.
Thank you, Tammy. I pick up Tammy's blessing and Tammy's energy and all of y'all's giving. We receive it through this basket, and it is blessed along the way at several points, among which absolutely is Miss Pat Ferguson, who does our accounting and passes it on to our bookkeeper. And it's just a continuous cycle. And each one of these, each one of you and each one of us and each one of these phases that it goes through is a paddle. It's like a paddle wheel, just like on the Belle of Louisville. If any of y'all have ever been on a paddle wheel, and you can see how powerful each one of those is, just goes round and round and causes everything to keep moving. And that is our blessing to and from you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of this and more. We let it be, and so it is.
And it's time for our announcements. We are having our board meeting. As you know, this has been canceled. Yeah. Anyway, we're having our board meeting Monday, April 24th at 5 p.m. using this Zoom login. Everyone is welcome, and they can be real interesting meetings. So if you've got the time, you should join us. Next week, April 30th, our guest speaker is Scott Q. Marcus, practitioner. And his subject is vulnerability, power, and purpose. Mark your calendars, May 7th. At 12:15, a discussion on self-love and spiritual connection with Dr. William Emerson and Susan Harrell. And you can read the screen up here. All right, very good. And Marian Wright Scholarship Fund, do you have something to say about that, Vicki?
Thank you, Tammy. So some of you may remember we did this last week too. The scholarship fund isn't for Marian Wright, it's from Marian Wright. And she was an advocate for our center. She was a pillar of part of how this center got developed. And she wanted to be able to give to us. And so every month she would send $10 to, and she'd say, I want this to go to somebody that needs to take a class. And so the Marian Wright Scholarship Fund was born, and we're just letting you all know that it is there. If ever you would like to do something special, of course, we always appreciate your general ties and gifts, but this is just a little something special where you can know that eventually one day that gift you've given is going to benefit somebody who might not have been able to take a class without your assistance. So we just want to make sure that you know that it's there. And all you have to do is take the designation and just put on there that it's for the scholarship fund, and Pat will take care of it.
Thank you, Vicki. And please remember, all week this week, you are magnificent. And thank you.
And now, thank you, Tammy, for your passion and your energy that you put into everything that you do. It's just wonderful. And this moves us into our closing song for the day. As Katrina had mentioned, the face of God. And we're going to be able to see each other and sing this. I think most of you will know this song, and if not, you'll pick up on it quickly. So let's just sing this to each other.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. Tu es l'image de Dieu. I hold you in my heart. Tu es l'image de l'amour. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. Tu sei la luce di Dio. I hold you in my heart. Tu sei il volto dell'amore. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of God. The face of God. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are a part of me. A part of me. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. Eres la luz de Dios. I hold you in my heart. Eres la cara del amor. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face. Tu sei la luce di Dio. You are the face. You are the face of God. You are the face. Tu es l'image de Dieu. You are the face. You are the face of God. You are the face. Tu sais la luz de Dieu. You are the face. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face. You are the face of God. You are the face. You are the face.
We almost don't need a benediction today, but we have one. So now in our lying down and in our rising up, in our rest and in our labor, in our tears and in our laughter. May we shine the light of spirit on each other's path, now and forevermore. Amen.